As the State Department of Education struggles with issues such as the A through F grading system and finding certified teachers for classrooms, educators are bracing for the possibility of more budget cuts. With possibly record-setting shortfalls expected next year, efforts are ramping up to find money to address Oklahoma's educational infrastructure.
Oklahoma is not a place that believes in equal opportunity just for the affluent. Oklahoma is a place that believes in equal opportunity for every person of talent and who will work.
At times pounding the lectern for emphasis, University of Oklahoma President David Boren delivered an impassioned plea this week for a sales tax hike to help fund education. Flanked by educators and others who support the plan, Boren told the assembled crowd Oklahoma can't afford to wait any longer to find a solution to education's funding woes.
Not only are our children at risk, but the entire economic future of Oklahoma is at risk. It is inevitable that Oklahoma's economy will decline if we do not invest more in education. Businesses don't come to states where they don't have skilled workers. Business leaders do not want to move their companies into communities where they will have to put their own children into schools that are not adequate.
The message of reduced funding contributing to a growing skills gap is one that lawmakers have heard repeatedly in recent days. Dr. Anthony Marshall, a teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Tulsa, told a Senate committee this week that education funding cuts are dragging down student academic performance.
Lack of adequate funding for schools has led to our students performing below average on most indicators, including graduation rates. This has a negative impact on our state's ability to attract business and thus an adverse impact on the economy of our state.
Preliminary numbers released by the U.S. Department of Education this week show Oklahoma is one of only 5 states to see a decline in graduation rates. Marshall believes that shows lawmakers need to reassess their priorities.
I think the legislature needs to seriously look at the tax breaks that we continue to give big businesses, the oil industry, treating them as if they are our number one resource, when indeed our students are our number one resource.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, per-pupil spending in Oklahoma totaled just $7,672 in 2013, ranking Oklahoma 4th from the bottom among all states in the District of Columbia. Oklahoma Education Association President Alicia Priest says it's a trend that's been going on for years.
Since 2007, 2008, we have been cut the most of any state in the nation. We have more students and less funds.
Oklahoma has seen a growth of about 44,000 students in public schools since 2009. Carolyn Thompson, the Director of Government Affairs for the State Department of Education, says the agency is preparing to ask for an additional $78 million next fiscal year just to keep pace with this year's budget.
But what I really want to point out to you is that if we were to match with our number of students the per pupil funding of 2009, we would have to request an additional $271 million.
With the state facing what most analysts predict will be a $1 billion shortfall in next year's budget, Priest doesn't expect the funding situation to improve.
Education is already bare bones. Our public school districts are already feeling the cuts and preparing. They've been told to prepare for at least a 5% decrease in funding next year.
Priest is also skeptical of suggestions from some lawmakers that education could be made more efficient by consolidating school districts and cutting administrative costs.
You know, administrative costs are minimal, and that might save a little bit of money, but those decisions are best left to the communities.
Boren says a 1 cent hike in the state sales tax would raise $615 million for education, with $378 million going to fund a $5,000 a year pay raise for teachers.
To attract STEM teachers, to attract art teachers, to start new reading programs, to make sure that our graduation rate, which has been slipping from high school in recent years. What a tragedy that is in the state of Oklahoma when we know that we not only need to complete high school but have further training as well. There will be funds for that.
An analysis by the Office of Management and Enterprise Services projects the total raised by the tax hike would be closer to $570 million. Supporters of the proposal on Wednesday filed paperwork with the Secretary of State's office to begin the initiative campaign. The group will have 90 days to collect the 123,000 signatures required to put the issue on the November 2016 ballot.